Joined now by Wyoming Republican Senator John Barrasso. Senator, we appreciate you taking the time today.
Thanks for having me.
So on the same day that Bob Mueller warned that Russia is interfering in the 2020 election, in his words, as we sit here, and his concern that he fears that accepting foreign help in U.S. elections has become the new normal, the Senate blocked two election bills, including one which would have required reporting such offers of foreign help to the FBI. In the simplest terms, why?
Well, we passed two bills on election security last week, which are now in the House. But it's not just about passing bills. It's about actually making sure that the ballots are secure. We had a bipartisan meeting of all of the senators with the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI to make sure that all of our states have the resources that they need to protect the integrity of the election in 2020. We know Russia was involved.
Should campaigns accept foreign help?
No, we know the Russians have.
So why not make that the law?
Well, as you know, Democrats, as part of the Mueller hearings yesterday, came to the Senate last night with this proposal after many people have left and said, let's do this unanimously while no one is here. I mean, it was a charade, and you know it, and the viewers know it.
Senator, they've tried to pass legislation like this before, and the Senate Majority Leader has blocked it. Why isn't it a no-brainer?
Without going through the committees, it is a no-brainer that we want to continue with the integrity of the ballots. Russia will continue to try to get involved, engaged. We were able to stop them in 2018. I think they're going to try to ramp up in 2020. We have $380 million deployed to the states, people from Homeland Security working at the state level. We all know that passing legislation is never enough. Getting results is important. And it's not just Russia. It's also China, it's also Iran, and it's also North Korea. And they're not just attacking the United States. They're going after balloting around the world, in England, in Germany, in France. All of those areas have been targets.
No question, and I'm deep into it. It's an issue of great interest to myself. I'm just trying to drill down on this issue of accepting foreign help, because that gets to Americans' participation in foreign interference. And as you know, the Mueller report did establish that the Trump campaign was open to such foreign help in 2016. Should the president say definitively, because as you know, when first asked about this some weeks ago, he said, well, heck, if someone offers me help, I might take it. Do you want to hear from the U.S. president saying, under no circumstances should I or any campaign accept any foreign help, foreign assistance, foreign interference in a U.S. election?
The president will speak for himself. 16 Russians have been arrested in their involvement in the 2016 election. We know the Russians were involved and are going to try it again in 2020. We need to make sure we have everything in place so they cannot do what they want to do, not just in America, but worldwide.
North Korea, as you know, launched two more missiles yesterday, a new missile, apparently. It's not the first time they've done this. The president has now sat down face-to-face with the North Korean leader 3 times. You're, of course, on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. I know you follow the threat from North Korea, and you take it very seriously. In your view, what has the president achieved from diplomacy if North Korea is still testing missiles and has not taken any steps to curtail its nuclear program?
Well, I think that North Korea, with nuclear weapons, and they have them, makes the entire world, less safe and less secure and less stable. I think the president was absolutely right to engage North Korea and to continue that engagement. All these rocket launchings continue to be troubling, but more troubling is the fact that they have the nuclear weapons. The sanctions are working. Kim Jong-un, we know, is a brutal, ruthless dictator. And we need to make sure that he continues to feel maximum pressure. We need to do it with the sanctions. I believe we should also be doing it with joint military actions in the area in terms of exercises, not actions, but exercises. And third, work with the international community to continue to increase the pressure on North Korea.
As you know, this president has suspended large-scale military exercises with South Korea as something of a concession to North Korea. He's met 3 times now. You say that the engagement is good, and I don't think anybody would dispute that. But I want to ask you, what has that engagement achieved if North Korea is still testing missiles and has not even given an accounting of its nuclear program?
Yeah, I think that interaction is always good. It is helpful. I think that the heat has actually been turned down from where it was when President Trump took office. So I think we're moving too slowly, from my point of view, to getting the solution which we need and which the president continues to demand, which is a complete elimination of nuclear weapons from the entire Korean peninsula.
You believe they're moving too slowly?
Oh, I believe they are moving too slowly, but that is the direction we need to go, and we are against any relief of sanctions until we actually see action on their part.
If North Korea is moving too slowly, is the president showing too much patience here then with Kim?
Well, I think that we're in a safer, better place now than we were 2.5 years ago. So I think the president is doing the right thing, increasing sanctions as he continues to do, and I'd like to see more engagement of the international community lined up against North Korea.
Final question, if I can, on Saudi Arabia. As you know, the president vetoed a measure that would have prohibited arms sales to Saudi Arabia. As you know, and some of this came from CNN reporting, Saudi Arabia, some of those arms have ended up in the hands of al-Qaeda. Some of those weapons have been used and civilians have been killed. And the Pentagon has scolded Saudi Arabia for not taking enough measures to prevent civilian casualties. You voted against blocking arms sales. Why still sell arms to Saudi Arabia?
Well, you know that part of the world. You've lived there. I was there a couple of weeks ago over the 4th of July visiting our troops in the Persian Gulf. You have the threat of Iran, which continues, their threat to get a nuclear weapon, their threat in support of terrorists, their efforts in Yemen through the Houthis to attack Saudi Arabia. There are bad guys and there are worse guys in that part of the world. And to me, the greatest threat is Iran in terms of the threatening the stability of global peace. We need peace and security and stability abroad if we want safety and security at home. And I'm siding there with Saudi Arabia, although we need to reevaluate that entire relationship because of things we've seen in their behavior as well.
Does that include the murder of Jamal Khashoggi?
Absolutely. I know the fingerprints, to me, of the Crown Prince are on that murder weapon. I have called for that. This is against our values of the United States, and I've spoken forcefully about that. That's why we're today in the Foreign Relations Committee in a few minutes having a meeting, a business meeting, to vote on legislation to say, let's reevaluate this entire relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia, because there are certain things in Saudi Arabia that are in our best interests, but certainly others that are not consistent with our values.
Senator John Barrasso, the great state of Wyoming, thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Jim.